Are we at war with Iran?
I think we're in a military action at this point. I'll leave it to Congress and lawyers, et cetera, from the administration to determine the exact.
Okay, so yesterday, the president said we're doing very well on the war front, and previously he said we should expect American casualties because, quote, that often happens in war. So is the president wrong when he says we are at war?
Well, I won't add or subtract anything to the president. I wouldn't presume to do so, but I know this is a material matter in front of the Congress and between the administration, and I'm not the right person to weigh in on exactly the criteria.
Okay. You said that regime change is not one of the objectives of this military operation. Is that correct?
Of the U.S. military campaign at this time as directed by the president.
Okay. If that's the case, can you explain why the first military target of the joint U.S.-Israeli operation was Iran's Supreme Leader Khamenei?
My understanding is that's an Israeli strike. We can get you more detail, including this afternoon in the classified briefing.
Okay, well, President Trump clearly disagrees because he immediately took credit for this, saying, I got him before he got me. And shortly after the strikes on Saturday, Trump told the Iranian people, bombs will be dropping everywhere. When we're finished, take over your government. It will be yours. This is probably your only chance for generations. And your boss, Secretary Hegseth, literally said he made sure that the people responsible in the Iranian regime to try and take out President Trump were on the target list. How does arming the Kurds and encouraging a civil war advance our military objectives of degrading Iran's power projection capabilities?
Ma'am, I'm not sure I can comment on that. I'm just not tracking it specifically, but I can get into it, get back to you or into classified.
Okay, great. I'd like to enter into the record 3 articles about how we are arming the Kurds.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Okay, so you won't say if we're at war. You won't say if regime change is actually part of our thing. Do you agree that there is a risk of Iran becoming a failed state?
I think there are a wide range of risks, but I think those are the kinds of things that we are precisely seeking to avoid and capitalize on to make sure it's net beneficial for the American people.
Okay, and does the department actually have a plan to avoid that and prevent a failed state in this very strategic part of the world?
Well, without fixating on the specific eventuality, ma'am, I would say the department is actively planning to ensure that we are, deliver on the president's objective of a net beneficial result for this military campaign.
Okay, you keep saying that it's important that we have a plan and that you are working on the plan. What is the plan?
Ma'am, I can, it may be worth when my colleagues, or we can go in, but particularly when my colleagues come over and brief this afternoon, you may ask them. Obviously, we're not going to talk about that in open session.
Okay. How long will this war last? How much longer will our service members have to sacrifice their lives?
So I'm not going to take away the president's decision space. He's got the wide range. He's the master of that. As he has indicated, and Chairman Kaine as well, the military campaign, at least at this point, has been scoped out, or I would say people have discussed it as roughly 3, 4, 5 weeks. But that, of course, does not constrain the president's decision space. But again, goes back to the kind of phasing of the military campaign that's been given specifically to the U.S. Armed Forces.
Okay. And what about cost? Can you say how much this will cost the American people?
I'll get back to you, ma'am. I can't give you an answer at this point.
Okay. Mr. Colby, at his first press conference, your boss, Secretary Hegseth, said this mission is laser-focused, destroy offensive missiles, destroy missile production, destroy their Navy, and they will never have nuclear weapons. In 2003, just as Operation Iraqi Freedom was getting underway, President Bush said, our mission is clear, to disarm Iraq of weapons of mass destruction, to end the regime's support for terrorism, and to free the Iraqi people. Remind me, Under Secretary Colby, how long did Operation Iraqi Freedom last?
I'm actually not sure technically, a decade or something.
It took 8 years before Iraq became even remotely stable at a cost of thousands of American lives and trillions of taxpayer dollars. Secretary Hegseth said this week that we're not doing nation building. We don't do quagmires, no democracy building exercise. In fact, his predecessor as Secretary of Defense, Secretary Rumsfeld, said, and I quote, I don't do quagmires. You just said that this isn't going to be another Iraq. Secretary Rumsfeld himself said, of course it won't be Vietnam. We're going to go in, overthrow Saddam, and get out. That's it. The American people are not stupid, Under Secretary Colby. This administration keeps telling us this is not Iraq while using the exact same arguments that were used to justify the war in Iraq. We have already had 6 service members die in this war and dozens more injured. And you can't even give me an answer on what the plan is or what the objectives really are. Our embassies have been attacked. At least $90 million worth of fighter jets were shot down by our allies. And you literally can't even tell me whether this is a war, what we're trying to achieve, or how much it's going to cost the American people. My generation has been paying our entire lives for forever wars that your president promised to end, and yet you sit here today unable to provide us with any clarity. Our service members and the American people deserve better. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.